Good morning. We are here on the historic campus of the Virginia Union University. We thank Dr. Hakeem Lucas, its president, for allowing us to have this press conference to talk about the budget that is being put forth by Governor Ralph Northam. My name is Winsome Sears, and I stand here with our next governor of this great Commonwealth, who is going to bring sense and sensibility to not just our budget process, which lacks transparency when you have over $4.3 billion of the federal coronavirus money about to be designated. We are standing also in front of the L. Douglas Wilder Library on this great campus, and we thank the former Governor Wilder for continuing to hammer home the lack of funding for our historically black colleges and universities. But we are going to change that this year. There is hope and a future for our children because we have a governor who is going to spend the money wisely. A man who has run a business very efficiently, so efficiently, in fact, that the other former governor, Mr. McAuliffe, has given him money to invest on his behalf. No greater endorsement than that. And so, with that, I'm going to give you our next governor of this great Commonwealth where history has been made and will continue to be made and will show the rest of the country the way forward. Mr. Glenn Youngkin.
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. As Winsome said, we're here at the historic campus of Virginia Union University in front of the Douglas Wilder Library. I'm running for governor to make Virginia the best place in America to live, work, and raise a family. The McAuliffe-Northam regime has had their chance and failed to deliver. They've had 8 years to make your lives better, but they live by the philosophy that government should decide all things, which businesses will win and which ones will lose, especially penalizing small businesses and more rural parts of this great Commonwealth. They tell us what's best for our kids in schools, giving parents no voice, no choice. And they think they know best how to keep us safe by underfunding law enforcement and our mental health system. They govern by the belief that they know best how to spend Virginians' money, these tax dollars. Terry McAuliffe thinks it's his money, instead of letting Virginians chart the path for their own destiny. And where did that get us? Well, thanks to the McAuliffe-Northam failures, the murder rate in Virginia is at a 20-year high. Our economy has fallen behind, jobs have come back slower, and our cost of living is way too high. Our schools are underperforming. And as a result, taxpayers, families, seniors, and our children are suffering. The change we need will not come from a recycled politician with stale ideas that he failed to deliver when he had his chance as governor. It will come from an outsider, a leader who is not tied to special interests, someone who knows how to get things done. It's going to take a new kind of leader to pave the way for a new day in Virginia. So today I'm offering my priorities for investing in all Virginians by using the surplus and the American Rescue Plan Act funds to provide Virginians tax relief, reinvigorate our job machine, reestablish excellence and empower parents in Virginia's classrooms, and rescue public safety and our mental health system. And let me elaborate on our highest priorities. First, tax relief. Between the state surplus created through excess taxation and the American Rescue Plan Act, the Commonwealth has $5.8 billion to invest in all Virginians. I'd like to see a meaningful amount of these dollars go directly into the pockets of Virginians. Under Democratic rule, the general fund revenues, which are taxes and fees, have increased at 2 times the rate of GDP growth. I'm going to say that again. Taxes and fees have increased at a rate of 2 times GDP growth. The state government keeps grabbing more of the pie from individual taxpayers and families. Virginians have suffered through nearly a year and a half of COVID, surviving job layoffs, business shutdowns, hits to income and savings, and we can't begin to forget the tragedy of the many lives that have been lost. It's time Virginians catch a break. Under my plan, Virginians will actually get one in the form of $1.5 billion in tax relief. Second, we must reinvigorate the job machine and the economy. My vision for Virginia is one day we will lead the nation in job creation because taxes are low and regulations are reasonable, because small business can access capital, can hire who they need to hire and expand, because every graduate is either college ready or career ready with a skill that will put them on a pathway to a more prosperous future. To reinvigorate our job machine, we will take several important steps. First, we need to protect employees and small businesses from the cataclysmic 4-fold payroll tax increase from $90 to $360 per employee that is coming. This needs to be stopped immediately by fully funding the deficit of the Virginia Unemployment Insurance Fund. Otherwise, it will be disastrous to all small businesses and jobs. Second, we need to provide a tax holiday for small businesses with less than 50 employees. When the hard left looks at jobs, they see tax revenue. I see income for families and opportunities for Virginians. We have to stop piling up more taxes on the job machine, on Virginia's small businesses and their employees. Third, we must bridge the digital divide now, in real time, not government time, and bring the benefits of broadband to rural Virginia. By investing in broadband, cybersecurity protection, job-creating initiatives like innovation ecosystems and sites to bring back manufacturing, along with critical environmental projects, we are investing in jobs, opportunities, and growth for all Virginians. My third priority, establishing educational excellence and empowering parents. The best means to economic development in Virginia is an educated child. I have a vision where, once again, we lead the nation in classroom performance, where we set high standards, provide strong curriculum, invest in facilities and teaching so all children of every background, can learn and succeed. I believe when you give parents choice, you give children a chance. Now is the time to empower parents to make choices for their children by creating 20 new innovation schools in failing school districts. Also, we will provide $500 refunds per public school student to families to invest in their children's educational recovery. They decide more tutoring, mental health counseling, what does my child need to help make up for last year's terrible outcomes. There has been so much learning loss because our children spent a year trapped at home. We asked too much of teachers. Teachers were asked sometimes to educate kids online and in the classroom, 16, 17, 18 hours a day. Friends, we will reestablish excellence in Virginia's educational system. Finally, my fourth priority, rescuing public safety and our mental health system. We are all Virginians are immensely concerned about crime-ridden communities and the hard left's agenda to defund police. We must fund the police. We must stop the resignations and early retirements and train and equip law enforcement to be the best in America. We will provide a $5,000 retention bonus for officers over the next 3 years, retaining our law enforcement heroes. Also, let's keep all first responders safe with significant investments in critical equipment. Law enforcement and other first responders have the hardest job in Virginia. They run towards danger, they encounter uncertainty and crisis, they have to make life or death decisions, snap decisions. These heroic Virginians deserve our support by preserving qualified immunity through better pay and better equipment so they can do their jobs with the absolute professionalism, ensuring the safest communities in America. My vision is a Virginia with safe neighborhoods, where our children can play without worry, where the elderly can take a walk without fear, with police partnering with communities to patrol and keep everyone safe. These are my investment priorities. This is a moment for transformational investment. This $5.8 billion plan includes over $2 billion that goes directly to Virginians in the form of tax relief and educational recovery assistance. It invests $2.6 billion to reinvigorate our job machine, $1.2 billion to reestablish excellence in education, and $500 million to rescue public safety in our mental health system. Make no mistake, with the Youngkin administration, this is the Virginia that you can expect. When I'm your governor, we will get things done. For 8 years, we have sacrificed that future with status quo plans that empower Richmond government, Richmond insiders, at the expense of individual Virginians. Let's not waste this unique opportunity to change the future for better. Let's not let single-party rule in Richmond shut out constructive dialogue through this process. So I'm honored to be joined today by Virginians who know what it means for their families, for their communities, and our Commonwealth to want to move forward for a new day in Virginia. Michelle Williams joins us right here from Richmond. Her children are in public school. For Michelle, education isn't just a top issue, it's her children's future. Hayden Fisher, who owns 2 restaurants, who knows what it's like to run a business during the worst time. I think we're going to make sure that Virginia's future is the best time from now on. And finally, Jason Miyares, who will be our next Attorney General, our top cop, who absolutely understands what it means to support law enforcement, to actually put victims first, and to recognize that we have to invest in law enforcement for the safest communities in Virginia. So friends, thank you so much for being with us today. And I will hand things over to Michelle for a few comments.
Good morning. As a mother of 5 children who have and are currently attending public school in Virginia, I am concerned today. We've seen a lurch to the left in the name of indoctrination and lowering of academic standards, prioritizing unions and bureaucracy over education. I trust Glenn Youngkin to go to work for our children and get our education system back on track. Our children deserve higher standards of education. As parents, we should be empowered to choose the best educational opportunities for our students. The education refund Glenn's proposing will be a huge help to parents like me. I'm with Glenn because he'll improve educational outcomes for all Virginia students, and that's what matters. I now introduce Mr. Hayden Fisher.
Thank you and good morning. My name is Hayden Fisher. I'm a local attorney and entrepreneur and small business owner. And as we all know, during the last 8 years, we've seen an increasingly anti-business climate, a climate particularly anti-business towards small businesses. And that doesn't take the form just in increased regulations and higher taxes. It really takes the form in a lack of empathy for small businesses in particular. And that's why we need somebody like Glenn Youngkin who understands every big business starts as a small business. And never was that more apparent than last year when the pandemic hit. As you all know, in a time of crisis, we need leadership. We need a Glenn Youngkin to lead us through a time like that. Instead, the McAuliffe-Northam administration provided nothing by way of guidance and help for small business. And I'll tell you in particular, that was present when you talk about the essential versus non-essential categories of business. If you were a big box grocery store or if you were a gas station, you were essential and you were open. If you were an innovative new business that sold similar products or services, especially products and goods in the retail sector, you were non-essential, even though you had a business model that was a new business model that didn't fit into a neat government category. And as we started to reopen, the biggest frustration I heard from clients, I advise and consult with a lot of small business clients and other small business owners, is there was no process. It's like, what if my business can safely reopen? And I don't fit into a neat category? Why can't I apply? There's no process to try and say, hey, my business can also safely reopen. In fact, their only option was to potentially think about filing a lawsuit. Can you imagine having to file a lawsuit to reopen the business you put your heart and soul into? And not only that, but your concern was not winning, but being retaliated against for even having the audacity to file that lawsuit. That's a complete lack of empathy for local business and for small business. And with Glenn Youngkin, I can assure you there would be a process in place where he can bring every business back that can safely reopen, back open as quickly as possible. And that's why I and many other small businesses support Glenn Youngkin for governor. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jason Yarez. I currently serve in the General Assembly, former prosecutor, obviously running to be Attorney General. The question that Glenn and Winsome and I ask everywhere we go in every community is, do you feel safer today than you did 8 years ago? By every single quantitative measure, the answer is definitively a no. Because several of the members of the General Assembly are here. We've had a front row seat of this criminal first, victim last mentality that we've had in Richmond, this far left liberal monopoly. We've seen legislation after legislation introduced that makes Virginians less safe, less secure. We've seen them ending the mandatory reporting requirement of sexual assault in our schools. We've seen legislation advance that would end all mandatory minimums for drug dealers, including second offense, dealing drugs to a child at a bus stop. We've seen bills push forward that would give 50% automatically off your sentence if you're a convicted child pornographer. And we've seen a McAuliffe-Northam parole board that has let out violent criminals back on our streets, sometimes with decades left on their sentence, and then see those same individuals then commit more crime. What has this meant? That's meant our murder rate's the highest rate it's been since the Spice Girls had a #1 album. It's meant Virginians feel less safe and less secure. It means right now that our crime is up, but our cops are down. If you look in the city of Norfolk, they're down 140 cops. Virginia Beach, about 120. Almost every single major metropolitan area, they're down police officers. Why is that? I talked to a good friend of mine, he's on Virginia Beach SWAT. He said, nobody has our back. We don't feel like our governor has our back. We don't feel like the media, quite frankly, has our back. We don't feel like this attorney general has our back. Well, Glenn Youngkin will have their back. Think about it. For us to go to work today, I have to put on a tie and a coat, maybe grab a coffee mug. For an officer just to go to work in the morning, they have to put on a bulletproof vest. There's no other job in America like that. And for them to be demonized the way they've been and been attacked the way they've been by people in Richmond, not surprisingly, cops are leaving in droves. There are no police officers. There's not enough police officers on our streets keeping our communities safe. So when you have people like Terry McAuliffe advocating for ending qualified immunity, and you have which is de facto defunding police, on top of what we already have, which is rhetoric that is driving cops away, you can't keep cops. And what we need is a fresh perspective, a new perspective, an outsider's perspective as Virginia's chief executive officer, someone who's going to stand with police, not against them, who's going to fund police, not attempt to defund them. That's exactly what Glenn Youngkin has proposed in his plan. The pay for retention is going to be critical because we're losing an entire generation of police officers with vast amount of knowledge that are leaving and retiring early precisely because they don't feel like anybody has their back, but they know that help is coming. They know Glenn Youngkin is going to serve and have their back as governor. Ultimately, Glenn Youngkin's #1 goal is safety and security for your child in their schools and for your family in their neighborhood. That's what's at stake here in Virginia. We know we need to end this far-left liberal monopoly if we're going to actually bring back some common sense, in addition to that, some safe streets. And so Glenn Youngkin's plan to both stand with our police officers, fight any attempt to end qualified immunity, give our cops the pay they need to actually stay on the force, train the next generation, and keep the good cops, that's what's going to be critical for us, for our next governor. I'm so enthused about his plan, and I can tell you those in law enforcement are so excited about the fact that they may finally have leadership in Richmond that has their back. Thanks so much.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Hayden. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Winslow. Thank you all for being here. What's at stake is the future of Virginia. And here we see our legislators being convened next week for a special session. We actually have the Democrat leadership saying they will not accept any floor amendments, any discussion. Friends, there's $5.8 billion that needs to be invested in Virginia's future, in all Virginians. What you've heard today is the framework for pressing forward to provide tax relief to all Virginians, to invest in reinvigorating our job machine, to reestablish educational excellence, and to rescue our law enforcement capabilities so that our communities can be the safest, and to rescue public health. Friends, this is what's at stake. And it's time for Virginia to move forward with a new kind of leader. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for loving the Commonwealth of Virginia. God bless Virginia, and come on, Virginia, let's go. Let's get this done.